Coming up on Evening Edition, the Illinois Department of Transportation previews upcoming Interstate 57 construction. Plus, Nebraska experiences record flooding. And the U.S. responds to recent terrorism abroad. Live from Southern Illinois University, you're watching River Region Evening Edition.
Construction season is just around the corner, and the Illinois Department of Transportation previewed the upcoming I-57 expansion project today. Good evening, I'm Madeline Parker.
And I'm Jacob Gordon. During the news conference, Illinois State Police, IDOT, and several local state lawmakers discussed the project and the importance of work safety zone for both drivers and construction crews.
I think it's important to see that legislators are here from all three of the House districts that are represented through this stretch of highway here. So
the expansion project will take place from mile marker 57 to mile marker 65 in Franklin and Williamson counties. The lane closures associated with the project will only be during off-peak hours, but drivers should be prepared to experience delays while traveling through the area regardless of the time of day. The construction is expected to be completed by July of 2020. 2 people are dead after a head-on collision. Illinois State Police say the crash happened just after 9 this morning on Route 3 in Thebes. Police say an SUV and a pickup truck were involved in the head-on crash. There were 5 people in the vehicle. Investigators confirmed 2 fatalities. The crash is under investigation by Illinois State Police.
The Massac County Sheriff's Department reports it made a drug-related arrest Friday night. Deputies conducted a vehicle stop around 11 p.m. near the intersection of 18th Street and Neville Street in Metropolis. A search kit turned up 1.5 grams what is suspected to be methamphetamine, along with a digital scale and plastic baggies. The driver, Caitlin Kuhn, was arrested and charged with possession of methamphetamine with the intent to deliver. And a federal grand jury has indicted 2 Jackson County men on methamphetamine-related charges. 33-year-old Jonathan Moore of Carbondale and 34-year-old Elijah Lacey of Murfreesboro are accused of distributing 500 grams or more of meth. The offenses are alleged to have occurred in Jackson County. Both men have pleaded not guilty to the charges and are being held without bond.
A bill to increase the age to buy tobacco products in Illinois is now on Governor Pritzker's desk. The bill proposes raising the age from 18 to 21 statewide for buying all tobacco products. The ban includes e-cigs and vapes. Representative from the SIU's Health Center says the bill would reduce smoking rates among teens.
Right around 95% of people who smoke tobacco had started before the age of 21. So if we're able to delay the initiation of use, that's a really important strategy.
The bill passed the Illinois Senate and House last year, but former Governor Bruce Rauner vetoed it. Once signed, the law will take effect July 1st.
Experts in Illinois say preparations for next year's U.S. Census are important because of the potential impact on the state. The census determines billions of dollars in federal funding for Illinois, as well as the number of congressional districts the state will have. An analysis by George Washington University found that at least $34 billion in federal funding is tied to census figures. Illinois could also lose up to 2 congressional seats in the upcoming count, shows a loss in population. For young teens wanting to learn more about babysitting, Pinckneyville Community Hospital is offering a safe sitter course. The course takes place on April 27th from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and parents are invited to attend a graduation ceremony at 3. The class teaches skills such as first aid and preventing problem behavior. It will be held at the hospital. The course costs $10. To register, call 618-357-8898 by April 17th.
Southern Illinois Healthcare is hoping to expand access to trauma care in this part of the state. Memorial Hospital of Carbondale has applied to the Illinois Department of Public Health for a Level 2 trauma center designation. Southern Illinois currently lacks a trauma center. The closest centers to this region are St. Louis and Evansville, Indiana. SIH officials say the cost of transportation to those centers puts a huge financial burden on families of trauma victims. And Southern Illinois University's Paul Simon Public Policy Institute is looking for 2 students to help reshape Illinois. College students from across the state will come together at SIU on March 28th and 29th for the Renewing Illinois Summit. The conference will focus on such issues as the budget, higher education, and the condition of politics in the state. The students will analyze state budgets, debate priorities, and compile a final report. The students taking part in the summit were recruited from 7 universities and colleges.
You know, Jacob, the sun has been really deceiving the past couple of days because we still have a lot of flooding in the area.
We sure do. Zach Warhus is here now. And Zach, the rivers in our region are continuing to rise.
That's right, they are continuing to rise. As we can see here, that the Ohio River down in Paducah, is up to 6 feet high in some places, and it's going to continue to rise through Tuesday. If we go over here, we can see that in the Mississippi River by Cape Girardeau and all the way up here by Chester, we can see that it's almost 8 feet high above the flood level. Now, that has actually caused some disruptions within traffic. Highway 61 by Chester has been routed through the city, so if you drive through there, please be aware you might have some flooding and some reroutes tomorrow. But other than that, we do have good news. There is more sun on the horizon and a warm weekend on the way. I'll give you that, plus my 5-day forecast and more coming up later.
All right, Zach, thanks. Authorities are warning that deadly flooding across Nebraska and Iowa could get worse.
Meteorologists say flood risks will remain high all week throughout the Midwest. Camilla Bernal has more.
The flooding in Nebraska could get worse before it gets better.
This is just a little too much to take in right now. It's like I look out there and I just see nothing but a big ocean.
Flood records have been shattered and more expected this week.
My father says this is the worst one since '44. He's lived here his whole entire life. He's in the trailer house. It's gone. I don't know what we're going to do with him.
The flooding has already killed 2 people in Nebraska and 1 man in Iowa.
People who were lost and washed away in the water, and we've got 1 person missing we still haven't found yet. So what we really want people to do is to stay safe. If you see water, don't try to cross it.
More than 8 million people are under flood warnings, in part because of the rapid melting of ice and snow.
Ice jam's also a prominent threat now as we're seeing all this melting and the ice and debris get into the rivers and waterways.
The big concern now, floodwater draining downstream, getting to communities that can't take much more.
This really is the most devastating flooding we've probably ever had in our state's history from the standpoint of how widespread it is.
I'm Camila Bernal reporting.
The spokesman for Nebraska's governor says FEMA officials will be in Nebraska tomorrow to expedite federal disaster and paperwork. In an effort to rewrite an Indiana crimes bill may be running out of time. Senate Bill 12 was originally written to give judges the power to increase sentences for crimes based on things like the victim's race, religion, sex, gender or identity, or sexual orientation. But an amendment replaced that list with the word bias to leave no one group out of the bill. There's now an April 9th deadline to get that bill out of committee, otherwise it'll be likely dead for another year.
And ahead on Evening Edition, the Supreme Court agrees to hear a case on the D.C. sniper.
Plus, 3 are dead after a mass shooting in the Netherlands. You're watching Evening Edition at 5. Days after the New Zealand massacre, police in the Dutch city of Utrecht have made an arrest.
Investigators say 37-year-old Gokman Tanish shot and killed at least 3 people and wounded 9 others inside a tram. Police say the have a suspect in custody and are investigating a possible terrorist motive for the deaths. Omar Jimenez is in Washington to explain how the United States is reacting to security concerns around the world.
Fear inside a Dutch tram as a gunman opens fire. Police arrested a 37-year-old man, Gokman Tanish, for the deadly attack.
One of the scenarios is that it's terrorism, but we're not sure.
The shooting in the Netherlands happening just 3 days after the deadliest terror attack in New Zealand's history. Investigators there say 28-year-old Brenton Harrison Tarrant, an Australian, targeted 2 mosques in Christchurch. 50 people lost their lives. Just before the attack, investigators believe the gunman posted a link to a white nationalist manifesto. The 87-page document is filled with anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim sentiments.
There are those who do not share our values of openness, of diversity, of compassion.
As New Zealand now works to change its gun laws, Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen sees domestic terrorism as a, quote, real and serious danger.
I want to make one thing very clear. We will not permit such hate in the homeland.
The secretary says she sees a range of threats.
I'm concerned about them holding our infrastructure hostage, stealing our money and secrets, exploiting children online, and even hacking our very democracy.
In Washington, I'm Omar Jimenez reporting.
This year, the Department of Homeland Security will host its first ever national summit on terrorism prevention. The two-day event will bridge together tech companies, NGOs, community leaders, law enforcement, social service providers, and more to better crowdsource against terrorism.
In New South Wales, a joint counterterrorism team searched 2 homes belonging to family members of New Zealand attacker Brenton Tarrant. That's according to a news release from Australian Federal Police. The police searched properties belonging to the attacker in his mother and sister's houses. The aim was to obtain material that may assist New Zealand police in their ongoing investigation. Friday's terror attacks in Christchurch killed 50 people and wounded dozens.
The Supreme Court has agreed to hear the D.C. area sniper case. Lee Malvo was 17 when he took part in the October 2002 shooting spree that left 10 people dead and 3 others injured. Because he was a minor, a lower court says his sentence of life in prison without parole is unconstitutional. Virginia is seeking to appeal that ruling. Malvo's partner in crime, John Allen Muhammad, was executed by lethal injection in 2009. Malvo said Muhammad brainwashed him into committing the murder.
In Texas, authorities are continuing to fight a fire that began yesterday morning. The fire is at a petrochemical plant, which stores millions of gallons of fuel and oil. The fire spread to 8 tanks, and yesterday, locals were ordered to take shelter. That order was lifted this morning. But public schools still canceled classes. Officials say the risk of explosion is minimal. After 20 years, police in Alabama finally have a break in the cold case murders of 2 high school students. In 1999, J.B. Beasley and Tracy Howlett got lost on their way to a party. The next morning, police found both bodies in the trunk of Beasley's car. Investigators charged an Ozark man but later released him. The reason? Lack of evidence. Now investigators believe they have their big break. Sources say DNA links Coley McCraney to their murders. McCraney is charged with 5 counts of capital murder and rape.
And aspirin a day has long been followed when it comes to preventing a heart attack or stroke. But new guidelines by the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association suggest that benefits may not outweigh the risk for older adults without the history of heart disease. For those adults, the study says a healthy lifestyle coupled with getting blood pressure and cholesterol under control are the best preventatives. The guidelines suggest the daily low dose of aspirin can actually increase the risk of internal bleeding and early death. And the numbers of measles cases in the United States continues to grow. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention confirms at least 268 cases of measles since first of the year. That's 40 more than what was reported last week. 15 U.S. states are reporting measles cases. That includes Washington State, which has been dealing with the outbreak since January. In all of 2018, the CDC reported 372 cases of measles in the U.S., which was the second highest number of cases in more than 20 years.
Is the sunshine sticking around for the rest of the week? Zach has your forecast next.
But first, on Wall Street, stocks into the day with positive results. The Nightly Business Report has more coming up next at 5:30.
Sorry about that. As you can see behind me, this picture shows that Mondays do in fact rule. Thank you, Maggie Latham, for sending this in. If you have a picture that you'd like to send to us, please send it to Facebook or Twitter at River Region News. Today we were at about 52 degrees, partly cloudy. Our dew point was 25, very low humidity at 35%. The wind was north at 8 miles an hour, and our barometer was where it normally sits at 30.39. If we can see, we were about below our averages. Our average of 58 high and 35 low. We're at 53 for our high today and 32 for our low, and didn't get anywhere near the record of 80 degrees as our high set in 1921 or 13 as our low set in 1902. If we blow this up to the rest of the river region, we can see going southeast across the river region, the sun was up here in the northwest, but in the southeast wasn't anywhere to be seen. Waterloo was actually our warmest. It came in at a sunny 56, 57. Cape Girardeau was a partially sunny 55. Carbondale and Marion, same story. story, partially sunny, but 52 degrees. Paducah, the clouds were out, and 55, and Evansville was the coldest at 51 degrees. If we load this up to the rest of the nation, we can see that our region here was in the blue and green area. That means we're in the mid-50s, as you could see in the graph below. A little bit higher up, and we'd be in the mid-40s, a little bit lower, we'd be in the mid-60s. So we're right on track for our spring weather. We're right where we want to be. Moving on, we can see that right here is the cold front, and it's moving south, and it's to the south of us. So we're actually going to expect to see more warmer temperatures the farther into this week we go. We can see that this is a high pressure system to the northwest of us. It's going to be pushing a lot of great weather our way moving on. Tonight, we can expect clear skies and a temperature of about 32 degrees, wind moving east about 3 miles an hour, and the sun is going to set at 7:06. Tomorrow morning for your bus stop at 7:30 in the morning, we're going to see 33 degrees, so a little bit cold as you're moving forward. But as we can see, it's going to be partially cloudy, southeast wind at 3 miles an hour. You're definitely going to want to send the kids out with a jacket, but something light that they can take off, because moving into the rest of tomorrow, it's going to be about 55 degrees and a little bit cloudy. So something the kids can take off as it gets warmer around recess time. The southbound wind at 8 miles an hour is going to keep it nice and light, and the sun is going to rise at 7:02. Moving on to tomorrow night, it's going to be warmer than it was tonight at 41 degrees. Same southbound wind at 8 miles an hour. The sun is going to set 1 minute later than it is going to tonight at 7:07, and it will be cloudy. Moving on to our 5-day, we can actually see lots of great things on the horizon. Tomorrow it's going to be 55 degrees. Following that, Wednesday we're looking at a little bit of rain, 52 degrees on the horizon there. Thursday and Friday we're finally going to see that sun again like we did today, and actually by the weekend it's going to get into the 60s. So I'm looking forward to the sun. I'm looking forward to the warmer temperatures, and this weekend seems like it could be a truly, truly great thing for us.
Could be.
It really could be.
Thanks, Zach.
Of course.
And now here's Patrick Cotto with a preview of what's coming up next in sports. Patrick?
Well, coming up, the Saluki baseball and softball teams were in action this weekend, and we preview a couple playing games. You're watching Evening Edition on WSIU. Softball Salukis continued conference play with the weekend series against the Drake Bulldogs. SIU fell in the first 2 games, giving up 12 total runs, but finished the series on a positive note. SIU got on the board first with a Jenny Jansen RBI, and it was all about the pitching from there as Brianna Jones gave up 4 hits while striking out 7 batters, getting win number 10 in SIU's 1-0 victory. And the Saluki baseball team took their game on the road, taking on the Fighting Illini of Illinois. The weekend began with a doubleheader with SIU only losing by 1 run in each contest, although yesterday SIU could not get things going, giving up 18 hits on the outing, losing 14-5. That loss puts SIU at 10-8 on the season, but have a chance to bounce back as they will be home for 5 straight games starting tomorrow with Edwardsville. And after an impressive run in the Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament, the St. Louis Billikens are going dancing. St. Louis was in a hole down by 15 before a quick 6-0 run, only to trail by single digits heading into intermission. In the second half, St. Louis outscored St. Bonaventure 30-19, escaping with a 2-point victory to take the title. They will take on the Virginia Tech Hokies in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And those are your reactions of teams getting accepted into the NCAA tournament. The tournament kicks off tomorrow with the first 4, starting with Fairleigh Dickinson taking on Prairie View. And then the night continues with Ohio Valley Conference runner-up Belmont taking on Temple. Both games will be set for 5:40 with Fairleigh Dickinson and Belmont at 8:10. And Formula One is back in racing for the first time since the fall. Lewis Hamilton is looking to defend his title by starting the Grand Prix in pole position. Daniel Ricciardo was racing in his hometown, but got off to a rough start. He was able to come back in the race, but couldn't finish. Valtteri Bottas won the Grand Prix, and Hamilton finished in second as the podium was rounded out by the Dutch racing prodigy, Max Verstappen. And a blind runner makes history at the New York City Half Marathon. Thomas Panic is the first blind runner to finish the event with his guide dogs. Panic, who lost his sight in his early 20s, is the president of Guiding Eyes for the Blind. His 3 Labrador retrievers, Wesley, Waffle, and Gus, each took a shift on the 13.1-mile run. Panic hopes he and his dogs will inspire others with disabilities to take part in more activities.
That's absolutely incredible. Thanks, Patrick. Is the sunshine going to bring in warmer temperatures? Zach has a final check of the forecast next.
But first, as we head to break, be sure to follow us on social media at River Region News and check out our website for more local content. We'll be right back.
Finally tonight, April the giraffe is a mom once again.
The 17-year-old mother gave birth to her 5th spotted calf Saturday afternoon at the Animal Adventures Park in New York. It's a boy, according to the zoo's Facebook page. Park staff snapped this adorable photo of mom and son. Up to 300,000 viewers watched the birth, which streamed live on YouTube. The name of the calf doesn't have a name quite yet, but who do we think we should name the calf? I think Jacob, just because it's a good name.
How about Waffle, named after one of the 3 dogs helping the blind racer?
Waffle's pretty good. What about March? April, March? I mean, I know that would mean he came before her, but I'd be willing to set that aside. Exactly. Speaking of something I'm not going to set aside is my excitement for this weather we've got coming up. It is going to be sunny, 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 sunny on Thursday and Friday. We can see very warm temperatures coming up, getting into the 60s, even mid-60s on Saturday. The rain on Wednesday is something I'm not looking forward to, but we're expecting those floodwaters to go down as early as tomorrow morning. So hopefully by that time, the rivers will have sorted themselves out as they always do, and we can start to enjoy that sun on Thursday and Friday going into our weekend of warmth.
All right, thank you so much, Zach. And thank you for joining us tonight. The Nightly Business Report is next. I'm Madeline Parker.
And I'm Jacob Gordon. For Zach Warhurst, Patrick Cotto, and all the students who work on Evening Edition. Have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.